Hello my desert runners, and welcome back to Starsand. Several months ago we did a two-part review of the early access demo of this game, and today I'll be showing you the only part of the game that can currently be speedrun, the Cedar Suit speedrun. Now most if not all of you will not know what the Cedar Suit is, since at the time of this video the game has only just been released this week on November 4th. I won't reveal too much about it yet, but I will say that it is a very powerful item within the game and is likely to be the biggest challenge Starsand has to offer until more content is added. On top of the speedrun you're about to see, I'll also be gifting a Steam key of Starsand to one lucky randomly chosen subscriber that comments on this video. So hit subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment in the video for your chance to win a free copy of Starsand. Winners will be announced on Twitter and through my YouTube community posts on November 11th. So to start off, we'll make a new game in the classic mode of Starsand so that the skullomorphs, the giant alien deathworm things, will be present in the game. Now we'll have to sit through this little intro storyline that I'll shut up for, and then do a tiny little intro cutscene, and then we'll be in our speedrun.
While running the desert marathon on the fourth day, you get caught in a sudden sandstorm, right in between two checkpoints. Following the track becomes impossible, and you soon get lost in a cloud of dust and sand. Blinded by the wind, breathing with difficulty, the sun setting in a direction you can't tell, you start wondering if you'll make it alive, if you'll survive the desert.
Alright, and all we have to do for this intro bit is just make our way over to the building here, where we will embarrassingly fall down like a sack of potatoes. Now, starting out in Starsand, it's pretty obvious that the game wants you to head straight out of the starting building to the little yucca tree up here, and then keep on going straight to the oasis that's just over these sand dunes. But we're not going to do that. We're going to take a left and go perpendicular to the sidewall of the starting building over the other sand dune. There's only a couple in this game. And we're going to head to that oasis, where we're going to pick up some basic supplies, some sticks, lashings, and we're going to get our camel tamed. And that's going to allow us to move a whole lot quicker for the entirety of this run, which obviously is very valuable for a speedrun. So you might be thinking it'd probably be quicker to go just straight left out of the building and not collect up this little yucca here, but it's actually pretty integral to the run since I need some sort of weapon and tool very early by the time I get to this oasis, so I can start chopping some things down and get resources up and not really have to waste time waiting for lashings to craft like I just crafted here. Not only that, but I'll need some sort of tool or weapon to defend myself, since this is an oasis that has a lot of starting creatures, and 3 of those starting creatures are hyenas, or maybe 2 of them are hyenas, and 1 is a lynx, and those things attack you whenever you get close to them. Alright, there's our first oasis. And you can see the camel off to the right there. That is going to be the camel I ride for the entire run. Alright, and first moves here, we're going to pick up some bananas and just 1 rock and 1 stick so we can make that axe I was talking about. And then we're going to run off and get the bananas to the camel so that it can start the timer for it being tamed. It takes 2 minutes from feeding the camel the first time until it's hungry again when you feed it the second time, and it becomes tamed, and then you can ride it. Now, whenever I got attacked by that lynx back there, I just ran into the middle of the water. So that's one of the quirks of all the creatures in Starsand, including the alien sandworm skullomorphs that you'll see here in a little bit as well. They cannot go on water, so even if it's just a tiny little shallow pool like this oasis is, they will not go into that water if you stand in the middle of it. Alright, and we're just going to chop down every yucca that's here, because that's going to give us the highest amount of What are they? Stems that we use for making lashings, and then we're also going to chop down one palm tree so that we can get up some logs for making some tools and making planks later, and then also the fronds for making a bed later because we need to sleep through just one little part of this run. I'm also going to need every single one of these bananas because by the time I'm done, I'm going to go through quite a bit of food. Just trying to keep my health up from being attacked by a couple different animals and skullomorphs, and losing a bit of health from the heat and even some hunger at times. Alright, and we also already have a hat crafted, so that's one of the things that was absolutely integral, was getting a hat crafted up as soon as possible, because without it, I get to 40-degree temperature very, very quickly, and that causes me to start losing health, and because I can't cool off fast enough after getting to 40-degree temperature on my way to the next oasis, I have to have that hat very early in this run so that I don't get to 40 as quickly, and I have time to regenerate my health from the health that I lose on the way to the next oasis. And there's a notification for our camel being hungry. That means we are ready to go. We just gotta feed it a banana, and then we can hop on and start moving. All right, we're off to the races. Gonna try and fill up our water as much as possible because there's gonna be very few chances for water on this run. However, we will have a chance to get a couple of hydrating pieces of fruit. Now, if you just head off between those two dead trees that I just passed towards this kind of cleft that my reticule is pointing towards right now, this is where our first ruin location is going to be, and where we're going to pick up the recipe for our furnace and our mortar, which are items that we absolutely have to be able to craft the items to get the cedar suit. Alright, and we got our furnace and our mortar recipe, so we can craft those as soon as we have clay to craft those. Now the next thing that we need to do is collect up some leather, because we're going to need a backpack, and hopefully we'll get enough leather to make a canteen, which will make it so we don't have to carry around as much like coconuts for water. And the camel just tried to commit suicide. Not the amount of leather I'd like. You get anywhere between, I think it's 2 and 4 leather. Very commonly you'll get 2 or 3, but I think you get 4 leather from a camel, but I think you can also sometimes get 4 leather from other creatures too, even if it's less common. I was hoping that I'd get 4 leather on that hyena and whatever next animal I kill, so I'd be able to craft this backpack and a canteen, but it doesn't end up working like that. And we didn't take any damage from that first hyena, so we're going to go ahead and hit this one too. Now, whenever I was doing practice runs of this with the early access of this game, I would have to wait in between those kills if I took damage so I could heal myself, because I'm on a very tight schedule of making sure I get my health back and lose it at very certain points. Alright, we have our backpack, which doubles our inventory space. There's the next room where we'll find our first artifact, and here's our second oasis where we will top up on water and collect up some clay for the furnace and mortar, and we'll also get a couple pieces of food, mainly coconuts, so that we can get the coconut water out of them for hydration as well as the food out of them. And having this camel here, I wasn't usually trying to kill 3 things on this run, or 3 animals for leather on this run, but since he was right here and camels have just slightly less health than the hyenas, I decided to go ahead and kill him so I can make a canteen and not have to worry about water as much. However, he collapsed on the spear that I threw at him, so couldn't get that one back. Alright, and now we have our melon. That's the other integral part to this run. I absolutely have to have Desert Balm, which is made from a melon and a palm frond, and it basically just mitigates the amount of heat you take from the sun. It's like sunscreen. And if I don't have that, I keep on continually losing health as I'm making my way to the other locations in this run, so that was something I absolutely had to have. Alright, and there's our first clay. We just need to collect up 1 more clay node, and we have all the clay we'll need for this run. And in the past, I'd failed a few runs because I didn't have enough lashings, so I decided to go ahead and chop down that one little yucca tree just so I could have 2 extra lashings. Alright, and here's our last clay. And all we need are our coconuts, and then we can make our way off to that ruin and then to the other locations after that. I was trying to get on top of that camel I hadn't tamed thinking it was mine, but can't do that. And I came in a little hot on those coconuts, so didn't get those either. These little hoppy camels. Alright, and we have everything we need from this oasis, so we can start making our way off to the ruin that's just over these dunes. Oh, and I will be filling up my water again too, just so, you know, less chances I'll die of dehydration. And I guess I'm making more lashings. I don't think I needed these at all. And as you can see, we regain health pretty quickly in this game, so it's not so much of a big deal to take damage from creatures as long as you can keep yourself full of food and water. And you'll continually regain health even whenever those food and water bars are above that last little part on the hexagon where they drain to. So you actually have quite a bit of health regeneration from full food and water. Now here we'll be coming across our first artifact, which is one of the things that I was mentioning that needs to be collected so you can open the door later, a door later on in this run. Now this is also where we're going to see our first skullomorph, the alien sandworm enemies of this game. Now these things will come and hunt you throughout the game as the time progresses within the game. So on day 1, or rather on day 2, you'll see a very large earthquake, and then one will come after you, and as the days progress, more and more will come after you. So survival mode is actually pretty punishing on this, especially late game. Alright, and here's the ugly bastard. Now these guys, understandably, have pretty high health, so I also needed pretty high health to be able to take him down with this axe. It's just the quickest way to do this with no other weapons and not wanting to take the time to make other weapons, I just run up to them and chop them up. As I mentioned earlier, I was part of the early access playtesters for this game, and whenever this version came out that had the cedar suit in it, we were given a challenge to complete it as fast as possible, which was obviously right up my alley. And one of the stipulations in that was that we had to collect up a part from those skullomorphs to prove that it wasn't on the mode that doesn't have skullomorphs in it. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's relaxed or something like that. But so I don't actually need that skullomorph part that I picked up. It was just out of a habit from doing those runs in early access. Okay, now we left that ruin in a very specific way so that we would start heading in the direction, a very specific direction across a large swath of the desert. So I kind of tried to line up my camel with that collapsed pillar that was just off the side of the entrance to that last ruin. And that should, if I get it just right, point me right where I need to go to land at the noxious pit. Now, I accidentally turned right there and didn't realize it, and that threw off my trajectory, but if I had been going the way I was going, that would have been really good, because I would have been hitting the noxious pit right in the right direction, I guess. Instead, however, I'm going just a little bit around it, and it's probably costing me a couple seconds, but not too much time. You can really see off to the direction I'm looking just now, there's a drop off in those sand dunes, and that's where the pit is. So went a little bit around it, but all together not too bad. So the reason we are heading to our noxious pit is because we need to collect up some sulfur and some metal ore. So the metal ore will be used later for a couple different things, and the sulfur is what we're going to use to make our gunpowder for, well, another thing. I'd say altogether I probably cost myself about 30 seconds to a minute making this accidental loop around this area, but yeah, like I said, not too bad, to be honest, considering how much distance I had to cross. And you can see the aptly named Noxious Pit ahead, where we will get our sulfur ore and metal ore. Now, these camels have a really bad habit of wandering around after you get off of them. So, like one time when I was doing one of these runs, I got off of him too close to this little rock outcropping here. And because of a glitch, he just wandered into those rocks and just disappeared. And yeah, the run was over because obviously I can't do this as fast without a camel. And there's half of the sulfur we need. I'm riding this guy away from this rock. I do not want to lose him. Just had to clear up some inventory space to be able to hold this. And that shouldn't be a problem after we mine this last sulfur deposit, because we will be able to dismantle our pickaxe for some supplies and clear up some inventory space. I probably didn't even really need to dismantle it. I probably could have just dropped it since I had the extra lashings, which I'll need later for making a bed. But I was kind of playing on the safe side since cutting corners in previous runs had cost me entire runs. Okay, and when we reach this cleft in these mountains here, we're gonna do something a little weird. We're gonna put our furnace down, load it up with our metal ore and our sulfur ore and the sticks to fuel it, and then we're gonna take a little jaunt off to the only little part of this run where you have to go out of your way and then come back, which is perfect because we need that time for the stuff in the furnace to smelt. And then when we get back, we are gonna sleep and wake up in the morning and not have to deal with the cold temperature of the desert, which will be hurting us if we try to travel through the desert at night. In previous runs, I was putting this furnace a lot further back into this canyon, back on this little leg that I need to travel, but putting it further out into the desert right here actually gave me just enough time to be able to get back, sleep through the night, and then leave in the morning and not lose any time to the smelting process. It's really a shame that I have to sleep through part of this run at night, because personally I think the night in Starsand looks a whole lot better than the day. And yeah, I just jumped off of a little bit too high of a ledge and took a whole lot of damage. So that's one of the problems with the camels, is especially if you're sprinting, it's very easy to jump off of high things and hurt yourself. Don't ride a camel with low health. That's what Mom used to say. Alright, and up here we can see our second ruin. Now this place is absolutely massive, and it also contains some sus plants. Now these little artifacts that I pick up in these ruins, you can actually activate those and they'll tell the story of Starsand. But obviously I'm not trying to do that on a speedrun because that will take up time on my run. So yeah, hopefully it's not too much of a spoiler for you guys. I guess you can't really see the plants that are in here, so I guess you guys will have to come back and check them out at a later time, but trust me, I'm sure you'll find it interesting. Alright, we just gotta make it back to our furnace at the mouth of this canyon and sleep through the night. Oh, and that's one of the other things I really love about the Starsand skies is there's a constant, very light aurora borealis going on. It's a very colorful sky. And we're pretty much back at full health. As you can see, I regained health that entire time without eating or drinking water. And, you know, my water is down to the, I guess, technically the second bar of that little meter. It'll continue regaining health until it reaches the precipice of that last bar. Alright, so we're just going to check on things real quick. Actually, no, we're not even checking on things. We're just sleeping. And here's one of those lovely earthquakes I was talking about. In previous versions, that was not nearly as intense. So, and that was my first time seeing this on this version, since I'd done previous runs of this in just the one slightly older version. And yeah, that kind of freaked me out. I thought something was going wrong. Now leaving this canyon, if we just line ourselves up with these two rocks here and head in that general direction, it should point us right towards where we want to go. Thankfully, I'm going quickly enough on my camel that none of those skullomorphs, well, it will only be one on this first day, but the skullomorph that pops up wherever he pops up will never catch me in this run. And there is where we want to go, the giant pyramid. So if that's not an obvious place to explore, I don't know what is. Alright, and knowing what's coming up in this pyramid, I'm making up some planks for something we have to do inside there. Now, unfortunately, the camel cannot enter the pyramid, or else that would help cut down on some time, but we basically need to make our way in, do something really quick, and then make our way back out and go collect the last artifact to open the door that's inside. And I'm just going to collect up a couple more logs to make a couple more planks for the thing we have to do inside. Ah, lovely single-digit frames per second. Now you can see why I wanted to have the torch that I crafted a little bit earlier, just so I could see a bit easier in here. And there's a couple chests here which may or may not contain some items which you can use for the task we have to complete before we head out for our last artifact. And here's the task that we have to complete. So we need to build a very small bridge, and I almost fell into this and died. There's spikes at the bottom of that, instant death. We have to build a very small bridge across this to cross this gap and get what we need. Now, you are supposed to put 10 planks down, but I opt to only put 6 because I'm just going to jump the rest of the gap. No need to make more planks than I have to. And since I have all the planks and metal bars that I needed for that, and an extra one for a different item I have to make, I'm not even going to bother searching those chests to the either side here. Just going to make my way back out. Oh, now I am going to search them. Okay. Ah, yes. Okay, never mind. That was actually good, because I need 3 planks to make an explosive barrel, which is one of the recipes we just got. And I'm realizing that I have very little water left in my canteen, and we're going to need some water to make our way to the last ruin, and then back here, because without water we won't be able to run, which will significantly slow down how fast I can get into the temple. It's actually really drastic how much it slows you down. So we need to place our mortar down so we can make gunpowder for the explosive barrel, and we can't place that anywhere on the structure of the pyramid, so we have to make our way all the way out to the sand. And then once we make our 5 gunpowder, we can just leave as the gunpowder's crafting. You don't have to stay next to that mortar to actually craft those things. So we're off to our last ruin to gather our last artifact, and then we're coming back here. Now, in the early trials of doing this run, I was trying to do all 3 of those artifacts in one circuit, and I was not collecting the furnace that we got in the first 8 minutes of this game. So I was collecting the furnace that's over here at this ruin, and that was costing me about 2 extra minutes, since it would cause me to have to wait to craft that explosive barrel you just saw me make, which takes a full 3 minutes to craft, and I ended up just waiting at this one spot that I have to wait for the explosive barrel for an extra minute and a half or 2 minutes every time, and it's really slowing me down. So I'm really glad that my buddy Shadow Fox, with the playtesters for Starsand, told me that there was a furnace over there at the very start of the game. So that is basically what allowed me to beat his time of this speedrun, and yeah, claim the title. Now, short of this artifact that we're going to collect up here, we have absolutely everything we need to finish this speedrun now. and it's really just running the rest of the circuit as fast as possible. Okay, and we're going to dismount him a little bit early so he doesn't wander into this structure and like disappear into the walls, because this is another place that I lost the camels. Grab this artifact real quick and jet back out to the camel and right back to the pyramid. Now I could have done this speedrun at night without sleeping, and I guess that probably would have saved me a little bit of time since sleeping takes so much time in the game. But anytime I tried to do that, I kept on getting lost, either from the pyramid to this oasis, or from this, ruin rather, or from this ruin back to the pyramid. So I just thought it was probably better to go ahead and do this in the daytime. Alright, and we can see the pyramid again, so we know where we're going, and that pretty much solidifies whatever time I'm going to get. Now I gotta be a little careful here because I know these dunes, especially right around the entrance to this pyramid, are pretty steep, so like I was saying earlier, don't ride a camel with low health. So if I fall off of a steep dune right here, there's a very good chance that I will just die, which would be really tragic, because I'm actually making a really good time. And man, we were cutting it really close with that temperature because I don't have so much water left, except for in those coconuts, and chopping them up is going to slow me down. I'm going to have to open a few, but if I didn't get to the shade of this temple and I was still taking heat with no water, there's a very good chance I would have died right here. But now that our hydration bar is over that first leg of the hexagon, we are back to gaining health status, and our temperature is lowering, so we should be fine. So normally this barrel is a placeable that you would place down somewhere outside of the pyramid and then light with a torch, but whenever you use it on this debris right here, it auto lights. Another source of my death a couple times, actually, being stupid and standing too close to it. But yeah, normally you have to light it, this time you don't. So I didn't actually need that torch. I can see pretty well enough, but I like the idea of having the torch just to be able to see some of the stuff around on the walls. And we have a huge scary jaw and some sort of lighting system that we're supposed to be able to light, but I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if there's a glitch with it. And here's the door we're going to put our artifacts into. And with the last artifact in the door, it opens. We can go inside and collect our fourth artifact, which contains the last leg of the story of Starsand. And inside, we find our cedar suit. So the cedar suit is quite a powerful item, like I said. Oh, this light just lit right up. So basically, it has 100% protection against heat and cold. It also offers a very powerful jump boost that can make you go just about as fast as riding a camel. Now, the cedar suit is recharged with a certain type of plant that you can find in certain oases, and this is kind of alluded to by the presence of that giant temple with all of those plants that power the suit in it. So, yeah, I don't really want to reveal what the plant is. I want to, offer some mystery, I guess, with this. But yeah, I think it's pretty obvious once you actually get the cedar suit and have explored around. I don't think most people will be doing this within 40 minutes of, getting the game. So, yeah. Now you can see these jumps are, it's kind of a really weird mechanic with the cedar suit. You can just kind of tap spacebar and you'll get a little boost, but the longer you hold, the more you will propel yourself forward. And this can be quite fatal sometimes. If you jump off of something that's too high, that will probably kill you. But it's also a little weird because you can land in kind of a certain way and mitigate that damage, and it just takes a little bit of getting used to. Alright, I think that's going to about do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little preview of the cedar suit and this speed run of Starsand. Please drop a like and a subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, keep on surviving.